Farmers here are telling me they are facing unprecedented crisis.
The city destroyed more than 6,000 pigs and closed 2 of its abattoirs.
Millions of pigs dead. In countries like China, Vietnam, and the Philippines, not slaughtered for meat, but killed because of a virus called the African Swine Fever. Singaporeans love their pork. We consumed over 125,000 tons of pork in 2018. That's the equivalent of 1 million pigs. Since African swine fever began spreading rapidly in 2019, our pork prices have soared by about 30%.
I want to find out if pork sellers and their customers are affected by the rising pork prices.
影响，卖少一点而已哦，没办法。
如果再上就麻烦了。
吃少一点嘛，吃鸡肉，因为我们喜欢吃猪肉啊，所以它贵也是要吃。
It doesn't look like the African swine fever is going to be contained anytime soon. And with the demand of pork going up during the Lunar New Year period, I wonder if the price of pork is going to continue rising and if it's going to have an impact on other kinds of meat.
The African swine fever isn't new. The blood loss disease that attacks domestic and wild pigs was first discovered in Kenya back in 1921. Almost a century later, the virus spreads to Asia. China was the first to fall victim in 2018. By 2019, the virus sweeps across Asia like wildfire. In just 11 months, it spread to 10 other countries in the region. The latest to succumb to the hog killer? North Sumatra in Indonesia. We import all our pork from over 20 countries, including Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brazil. I'm heading to one of our top suppliers. Boarding the plane to Australia now, to sunny Brisbane. I want to know what's being done to mitigate the global spread of African swine fever. Brisbane is located in Queensland, Australia, home to almost a quarter of the nation's pig herd. Their biggest export market? Singapore. We buy about 14,000 tons of pork from Australia each year.
All passengers and visitors are reminded of the new government security regulations.
So I've noticed all these alert signs on African swine fever coming out of immigration, and I also saw a lot of sniffer dogs. It's giving me a sense that there is an urgency to keep African swine fever out of the country.
This is Cameron Ray. His charge, Udon, is usually the first to greet you at the airport.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Oh, it's so cute. Hello. Hey, you know, I saw these sniffer dogs in action as I was coming through immigration.
So detector dogs like Udon are just one of the tools that we use to find items that could bring diseases into Australia, such as swine fever. I'll show you what he does. Yes, good boy.
What Udon doesn't know is that Cameron planted the prohibited items into the luggage. The 5 sniffer dogs here have to be kept on their toes or paws during this critical period.
Wow. Okay. I see a lot of pork products in here.
Absolutely.
This is the Singapore bakwa.
Yep.
Can your dog sniffers detect if there's African swine fever inside these meats?
They can't detect if the swine fever virus is in the meat. They're trained to find the meat.
Right.
But these meat products have the potential that they do have that virus in them.
We know this is bakwa.
Yeah.
This is a
Different
sausage.
types of sausage.
Yeah. So does that play a part?
Absolutely. So for example, a commercially canned tinned meat product at this point in time you can still bring into Australia. It's cooked in the tin and the risk is quite minimal, so it's allowed to come in.
I think I saw one from Philippines where African swine fever has hit. So this would immediately put this pork product at a higher risk then?
Absolutely.
Right.
Even though it's commercially packaged, the type of product that it is and where it's coming from also plays a part.
With over 100 international flights entering Brisbane each day, the dogs are kept busy. And that's because the highly contagious African swine fever can survive for a long time without a host. It can stay dormant for up to months in fresh and processed pork and years in frozen pork. It can even persist in pork that's been cooked or smoked. Last month, Australia spent an additional $66 million fiercely guarding its borders against the deadly hog virus. And that's because the stakes are high. Almost half of all the pork products seized at Australian airports were found to be tainted with African swine fever. Dr. Mark Shipp leads Australia's national responses to emerging infectious animal diseases. In the last 18 months, he's been focusing on preventing an outbreak of the African swine fever.
Say I have a packaged product of pork. How does African swine fever transmit from this to a live pig on a farm?
Our concern is that somebody bringing in a pork product like that might take it home and then find out, oh, it's not good to eat, so they'll discard it. In Australia, we've got 2.5 million domestic pigs, but we've got 25 million feral pigs, so wild pigs. So if you discard pork products, pigs can eat those and become infected. And indeed, that's how the disease has spread in a number of countries.
How worried is Australia about African swine fever?
We're very concerned. We've seen African swine fever spread over the past 18 months through a number of countries that we thought were safe from infection. And now it's right on our doorstep. Indonesia, Timor-Leste, countries very close to us, the Philippines, have all got African swine fever. It's a disease for which there is no vaccine. So if a pig becomes infected or a piggery becomes infected, the only solution is to destroy all of the pigs on that location.
That might mean the decimation of Australia's pork industry, which contributed over $5.3 billion to the nation's income in 2018.
We've lost about 25% of pigs globally, and that's unprecedented to lose that number of pigs. I've described this as the most serious animal health issue of our generation.
The threat of African swine fever is way bigger than I imagined. If a breach happens at the borders, the only line of defense left would be the biosecurity measures set up in pig farms. I want to know just what farmers are up against in their fight against the hog killer.
For people that love to eat pork like me, I can assure you that if we have an ASF outbreak, there won't be a lot of pork around to eat.
Australia is one of Singapore's go-to suppliers of pork. It is one of the few remaining pork-producing countries in Asia-Pacific that is still free from the African swine fever. But what are farmers up against when it comes to preventing the invasion of the deadly virus? I'm zooming in on the biggest farm in a town called Dalby, Tong Park Piggery, under the Sun Pork Group. Sun Pork is the largest pork exporter in Australia, providing 7 million kilograms worth of pork each year to 7 different countries, including Singapore.
Wow. It honestly feels like I am in the middle of nowhere. Look at all this dry land. Gosh. Hi. Hey, hi, Reese.
How are you? Lovely to meet you, Shada. Welcome to Tong Park Piggery.
Thank you. Hang on. Where are the pigs?
But they are many kilometres from where we stand.
Then why have we met here? The pig farms are way over there.
Private vehicles can't enter the farm.
How are vehicles a risk to your pigs?
The risk for us is that the private vehicles coming into our farm can bring disease through animal fecal matter or soil.
Yeah.
And I'll show you.
Okay.
Quite often there could be mud or animal fecal matter caught up in our treads. So if those cars are then driven onto our farms, and it becomes loose, and an employee could stand on that and then cut that and take that disease or potential risk into the shed. So that's why no private vehicles can enter the farm.
All right, well then I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, we do have one more thing we've got to do, so we really need to reduce the amount of personal items that we take on the site.
Okay.
So things like your backpack, we're unfortunately going to have to leave it in the vehicle today.
Oh, let's leave my backpack. No, but that's fine. Anything for your security.
Thank you.
I will do it. I'm checking my backpack in the car. Let's go. Oh, look, it's the second sign I've seen about African swine fever since coming into your vicinity. So you're really, really big on curbing this at the source.
Yeah, this sign's just a reminder to our employees and contractors that they can't bring pork-related products on site, things like ham, bacon, roast pork.
Okay, good to know.
So let's jump in the on-site vehicle and hit the farm.
So I saw a lot of fences coming in here. Is that part of your biosecurity measures?
Yeah, so you've got the initial fence, then we've got the major fence. So there's only one way into our farms, and that's through the shower block, which we're about to enter.
Through the shower block?
That's correct.
So you're saying I have to have a shower?
You have to have a full shower, so that's washing hair, removal of all clothes, and on the other side you'll get company-supplied clothes to dress into.
Okay, so I'm taking off all my makeup. Well done. Have fun, viewers. Okay, let's go
Let's do it.
Anything to protect the pigs. All right, so we've all just had a shower, even my crew. We have washed everything. I've washed my hair, my whole body. I've got new clothes on, even my underwear. It is a very strict 3-part process. I take my clothes off in one room, I shower in one room, and I put on new piggery clothes in another room. That is how strict it is.
Finally, I'm in the pig farm. I want to see where most of the pigs are kept, but Riz tells me he has somewhere he wants to take me first.
Okay. Oh, wow!
You like them?
Yes, they're so cute! Wow, I've never seen so many little
ones.
Yeah, before.
It's the weaner shed. The pigs here are between 6 to 7 weeks of age.
So they're in here for about 5 weeks. At the end of that, the whole shed and all the equipment in it is fully disinfected and cleaned before the next batch comes in. So that's the major biosecurity step in this process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I go in?
Sure, go in.
Okay. Young pigs like these have a lower immunity and are more susceptible to viruses like the African swine fever. So biosecurity measures such as the disinfection of their shed need to start right after their birth.
Oh, hello!
So if we just keep moving our feet like this.
I've never done anything like this in my life. They're kind of poking at my legs. Excuse me, no biting, thanks.
Yeah, a few will bite. Move along.
Ticklish!
We move on to where the fully grown pigs are kept. This is a highly quarantined area. To minimize the risk of contamination, only employees are allowed to come into contact daily with these hogs. For visitors like myself and my crew, we had to make arrangements weeks in advance and wait at least 7 days after setting foot onto Australian soil before we're allowed to be in here.
They're huge!
Yeah, they've grown a lot since the last shed.
Oh, sorry! Come on here! I wonder if you've ever seen this many pigs before. So how many of them are there in a pen?
In this shed, there's about 50 in a pen. So all up, we've got 500.
500 pigs?
In this one shed.
In commercial farms, it is common for pigs to live in tight spaces. But the close proximity could mean a higher rate of infection should there be an outbreak.
ASF can take out 90% of your herd within the first 14 days.
90% of your herd? Did you hear that? 90%?
Yeah, it's a big number.
What happens if I eat pork that has the African swine fever virus in it?
Yeah, so actually nothing. There's no impact to human health at all. So it's only a virus that sits within the pigs themselves.
While the African swine fever has no impact on humans, infected pigs can die as quickly as within 2 days, with mortality rates as high as 100%. So as long as one pig contracts the virus, all the pigs in these sheds have to be slaughtered to prevent its spread. That will mean over 100,000 pigs dead.
So what happens then if your herd is wiped out? How do you recover from something like that?
It'll take at least 12 months to repopulate a farm if it breaks with ASF. So obviously first, unfortunately, we have to destroy all the animals. Then we have to disinfect the whole farm, and then we need clean animals to repopulate.
So Singapore buys a lot of pork from Australia. What will happen if African swine fever breaks out in Australia? What will happen to our pork supply in Singapore?
Yeah, so unfortunately for both of us, the federal government will put a hold on all exports, so there'll be no pork being exported to any country out of Australia. Obviously Singapore will be one of those.
Say that again. So you're telling me that it will stop completely?
That is unfortunately very true.
Back in Brisbane City. I want to know if Australia too has been reeling from high pork prices. Margot Andre from Australia Pork, the peak body representing Australia's pork industry, had asked for me to meet her at one of the city's most famous butcheries.
Oh wow, look at all of this. It smells amazing in here.
It does, doesn't it?
Have your prices been affected by the recent outbreak of African swine fever?
Our prices may have increased in-store by around about the 25% mark, possibly more.
Wow, 25%. I mean, that's a high increase. But there's no African swine fever in Australia, so why are prices increasing?
For the Australian pork industry, we're still gripped by drought, and now we've got this new African swine fever knocking on our doors. So we're investing a lot of money into biosecurity measures, both at the border and on our own farms. We are seeing that our producers need to do more on their farm day to day. That may translate to a price increase domestically.
So wouldn't that have an effect on the prices of pork in my country?
We haven't seen a change in global protein like this. So to put into context, China alone is estimated to lose up to 350 million pigs from African swine fever.
Wow.
With China's population and their demand for pork, it's a big gap to fill. So what we're expecting to see is a lot of countries that might provide existing markets, of which Singapore is one, may divert their product into China to try and fill those gaps. That's going to see a change in the global price of pork that we haven't ever seen before.
China, dubbed a pork powerhouse, is buying pork from all over the world, causing prices to skyrocket. Earlier, pork sellers tell me that they're already seeing an increase in pork prices in Singapore. Are things going to get worse?
They have been buying out mutton, beef and chicken from all countries.
Farmers here are telling me they are facing unprecedented crisis.
The city destroyed more than 6,000 pigs and closed 2 of its abattoirs.
China is the world's leading pork producer, but that is now a thing of the past, as the African swine fever decimated their pig population by half. But pork accounts for more than 60% of their total meat intake, which is why China is on a global meat buying spree. It has turned to pork alternatives. For example, reopening its market to Canadian beef imports, lifting a ban on US poultry import, approving new meat export plans in Argentina and Brazil, and increasing chicken, beef, and mutton imports from Australia and Europe. So, should I now be worried about other meat prices? I'm back home, just in time for Lunar New Year. And I know that with the festivities coming up, meat will be in high demand. How much more will we be paying for it? For some answers, I'm meeting meat supplier Phua Kian An.
This is our cold room. Let me show you around.
Oh wow, okay. I have never seen this many boxes of, I'm assuming that all this is meat?
Yes.
His family has been supplying all types of meat to Singapore's food courts and hawker centres for the past 30 years.
I was very shocked to find out that China is buying different types of meat to replace pork. So that means our meat supply is also going to be affected. Am I right to say this?
Yes, they have been buying out mutton, beef and chicken from all countries. So it has also affected the supply of other proteins.
And could this also cause other types of meat to increase in prices as well?
Yes, definitely.
I want to know prices for which meats have gone up the most and which parts.
Let me show you. Like beef, for instance, beef tenderloin. It has increased about 15 to 20% in general for beef items. For mutton wise, it has increased about 10 to 15 and chicken about the same.
So will meat prices keep going up?
China has slowed down a little bit and they are paying lesser for what they are buying now. So there's still chances of us to get meat from Brazil at a slightly better price compared to maybe last month.
By how much is it decreasing?
I would say about 5%.
Okay, well, that's good news, right?
Yeah, however, we think that the price won't go back to what it used to be because currently China still have to rebuild their farms for their pigs and then they will have to manage their supply for their pork to their own customer locally. So at the moment, they will still be buying from all over the world.
How long do you think it's going to take till we stabilize to what we used to be?
We think that it will last maybe about 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years? 3 to 5 years of buying expensive meat? Wow, okay, I didn't expect that.
It'll be quite some time before we see meat prices in Singapore come down and stabilize. Guess I'll just have to fork out a bit more money for my favourite bak kwa this year.
From a virus that just infects pigs, I've seen how it has a broader impact on the supply and prices of other meats. So, if you're a meat lover, be prepared to pay higher prices, at least for the short and medium term. But if you're like me, well, I'm just gonna have to cut down on my meat intake, at least until prices recover.